So, uh, hey, it's Matt. Welcome to Unbearable 73. Sorry for the little stutter pause. I was about to say something completely differently at the start of the video, and then my brain just like went, and my brain freeze me. Uh, so this is my review of Avatar: The Last Airbender live action episode 2, and there are problems. All right. So the first thing I want to say is this article I have on the screen here, right? There's accusations of them ripping off Man of Steel, some lines directly or whatever. And here's the thing, okay? That hypothetically may be true, right? But the problem here, and this is the problem with a lot of TV shows for the last 4 or 5 years, there's so many of these TV shows that writers who should be writing C grade stuff, like, or B grade movies, or soap operas to practice their skills, right? There's so many A-level productions at the TV and movie level that these C and B grade level writers who legitimately need to practice their skills to become A-level writers, right, are just put on these A-level programs. And so we get the messes like we get with leaving the woke and aside from Wheel of Prime and Ring of Prime, the writing is horrible. It's barely amateur level, right? So this show is suffering a bit from that. Already through one episode, I pointed a few things out, right? Inconsistencies or whatever. And we're going to hit some more of them when we get to that. But the point again with this article is, it's not so much that these inexperienced writers are ripping off Man of Steel. It's that it was influential to them, because that bit of dialogue in Man of Steel, you can find older bits of dialogue that are almost similar from previous books or movies. This is basically a giant who said it first tree, and it can go back hundreds of years in some cases in some lines. So the specific of ripping off, I wouldn't go nuts over. It's the fact that these writers are not good enough to maybe be inspired by the line of Man of Steel and write their own version of that expresses similar sentiment, right? Okay, we go. Now the sentiment they express is moronic, but that's a whole other issue I'll talk about in the video, right? So I have this article here for you. I'll link below. You can peruse it. I'm not going to go over it. I just want to point out with some controversy that the controversy here is not that they're plagiarizing; it's that they're inept writers. Okay, so now let's we can hide that. Okay, so we're on the episode here, and I'll reiterate again, even if you're watching this episode, that there's a woke chunk in here which I'll talk about, but that again, if you've never seen or cared about the original animation, you're a sort of normie, like, fantasy TV show type of person, you'll probably like this show, at least through 2 episodes, right? So there's that. Now, one more thing to say. This episode is almost a direct remake of an episode in the animation. Now, I'm not going to do the compare and contrast argument as I said in the first one, because it's not productive. Okay, because I want to talk about this episode, right? But I do want to, but because it's such a specific remake of that episode, right? We need to talk about some of the smart things they did in that episode and the stupid things they did here. Okay, for example, that whole battle scene at the end with Avatar Kyoshi taking over Aang's body to show him how the Avatar power can work and all that. Conceptually, that could have been good. In implementation, it was kind of meh. I mean, again, I don't have a problem with that because that's the way Aang's powers are going to work in the show. I have a problem with it because it doesn't solve the problems in the episode. In other words, Aang can't stay because the Fire Agent could keep throwing thousands upon thousands of people, and Kyoshi cannot animate his body more than a certain amount of time. So what they did in the show animation was Aang fought Zuko in a big fight and was pretty much winning, but then realized that as long as he's there, they're just going to keep coming. So someone invites him, you got to leave and lead them away. Okay? And that was Aang's character growth. That some fights are it's better. Sometimes you have to, fight through wisdom, lead them away, misdirect and all that, as opposed to just try to hit another blunt force object. And Kyoshi takes the exact opposite point. She's like, oh no, you have to become a blunt force object, okay? And I don't know if this is power wokeism logic. Like she has to be a strong female and act how feminist, crazy people think men would act in a situation. Okay, under no circumstances is the Avatar supposed to act like this. Okay, he's supposed to gain a balance of all the powers, all the perspectives, and at times be strong and firm, at times be wise, sometimes be your friend, sometimes be your opponent. But he's not supposed to just be the ruthless, brutal force that crushes the people before them. Okay? Which doesn't mean that the Avatar doesn't have to do that at times. Okay? But so that's why I think philosophically what Kyoshi did is problematic. Okay? And elevating and having the Avatar take over was problematic. It would have been better and they couldn't. The reason they couldn't have Aang fight Zuko is because Zuko has no chance against Aang in the show. Aang is the most powerful airbender ever already at the age of like 8 years old in the show. Okay, so there's no, even with Sozin's comet coming in closer, there's no firebender who could beat him in a fight right now. And that was not in the animation, as I said, the difference I explained last time. The difference with the animation is Aang was powering up even as an airbender as he grew into his powers. Even by the end of the show, he still was not as fully powerful as he was going to be as an adult, because the bending powers mature with you. You don't just like go through puberty like you're in the X-Men and instantly become planet busting. There's a scale. You also have to learn to use those powers, right? So there's that, right? So that's philosophical thing. But let's page through the episode here a bit and let's just talk about it. And I don't want to be a negative Nelly, because I have a feeling, I hope that a bunch of normies will say, oh, this was really fun. I want to go watch the animation and enjoy the animation even more. That's what I hope happens ultimately from this. So we got the Netflix opening, blah, blah, blah. And then Uncle Iroh, so he's probably the best character so far in the show. He acts more like Uncle Iroh in this episode. The guy who's playing Zuko is trying to do a good job, but Zuko is supposed to act more like a kid, not like a teenager who's more of an adult. In other words, he's supposed to be a little more petulant, but a little more serious, like a little balance of it. Here he's acting like a young Machiavellian character, I guess you would put it. So I'm not too happy with the way the writing. I think this is a writing issue again, not an acting issue. I don't think there are any acting issues in this show. I think there are writing issues and direction issues. And also, so they're talking Zuko's role. I mean, this is all fine and dandy. No problem with this stuff. So here we get to begin. So they're in the air temple, and Sokka and Katara are having the debate over should they go back to the village, should they go to Aang. Now in the animation, this was like the 6th episode or something like that. So they had already sort of bonded with Aang quite a bit by the time they get to this point, right? So they have to truncate, since they're not showing that, they have to truncate the writing, which is fine. It's an adaptation. Okay so far. And it's in concept. But this is not, and this little debate could work in and of itself, because they're showing Sokka as the protector of the Southern Warrior tribe, the one who had responsibility for Sokka. And that's another interesting contrast. So Zuko gets rejected by his father, thrown out of responsibility, whereas and wants his father to take him back, and he has to prove himself by finding the Avatar. Whereas Sokka and Katara's father left for war and gave them responsibility to protect the village, and he's living up to it. Now, the big fail of eliminating Sokka's misogyny and taking the character arc away completely is what shows up in this episode. It basically makes the way. What's her face? I gotta remember the character's name. Sorry, it's been years since I watch the animation, and that's why I tended to remember the names from. Warriors cast. Katara. Oh man. So Yukari, is it Yukari? Suki. Okay. So when Suki and Sokka have their interactions, right? Because he doesn't have that sort of character growth built into that, it comes across as her cucking him, right? So in other words, if she had treated him the way she was treating him, because he was a misogynist pig, and she was expressing that, even though he has a great core to him, Sokka, he's a protector. He has confidence. He has both confidence issues and like he's confident can do the job, but he lacks confidence that he's capable of doing the job. It's kind of a weird dichotomy there. But so there's attractive features for him that she notices, but the misogyny is on top of it. So she kind of proves that women can be capable too, and he learns, he grows, and we see several episodes of his misogyny, and by and then by this episode begins to disappear, and you see his character growth, and it's great. And when you take that away and you get to this episode, it just comes across as her cucking him for no apparent reason. She knows she's better than him at fighting, and instead of just saying, look, let's have a spar, I'll prove I'm better, and I'll teach you, she acts like an arrogant jerk. She femsplains to him, and then miraculously she gets through. They train for an hour, and he's capable of fighting with their weapons and styles. So writing-wise, that's problematic. That's bad writing more than anything. Again, this conversation between them, I'm totally okay with. So, they're kids, teenagers. They're in a leadership position in their tribe, and she knows she's the last waterbender from the Southern Water Tribe, and she has a duty to our tribe to use her skills for our tribe. But also, she knows they have a duty to protect the Avatar, and so this particular conversation is okay, really good. So we meet the monkey Momo here. That's perfectly fine. Not gonna go ahead. So Grand gives her the scroll of waterbending techniques, and she begins to learn. And then we'll eventually, they leave the southern air temple. Then we go to Zuko and Uncle Iroh. Now here problem. Okay, so Uncle Iroh has certain characteristics. He likes to eat. He likes tea, and he's also very cunning and intelligent. So we see some of that stuff here, right? And he should be teaching, and I'm not gonna do that. So he's supposed to be in a mentoring and protective relationship with Prince Zuko, okay? And you get some of that here, which is good. That he tells Zuko you gotta sometimes how to get what you want without saying what you want and all that. That stuff is kind of cool. Because you got the impression that Iroh is fishing for intelligence, trying to talk to the regular people and get a kind of sense of what's going on. And Zuko doesn't kind of get that, So they go to the Avatar Kyoshi's statue, and we get the whole Avatar light up, and the Kyoshi warriors. Costuming is great, and all that sort of stuff. No, I'm not complaining about any of that. So I have a feeling, speaking of influences, as a Naruto fan, this live action is heavily influenced. The way they're writing Aang's character in the live action, and probably the way he's being directed, is heavily influenced by Naruto. You could tell that Naruto has he can talk no jutsu to anyone. He had an irrepressible spirit. He's burdened with a power that could take control of him and destroy all his friends. That he needs to learn how to control, but he fears it. It's not quite that way in the live action. That's all I'm going to say. But again, if they're going with the change where he's powerful from the beginning, I could see this angle, and I have no problem with being influenced by all this stuff. I just think the writing in this particular point should have been, if he's the Avatar, if we're time skipping forward, they wasted time this episode with them saying, okay, we'll help you do what you do. You'll learn stuff, While you're doing that, let's have you train with the warriors to check your martial arts skills. Like this. This is a very practical episode in terms of skill ups for Aang and Katara, and or it should have been. So now we get I told you before. So now we have Sokka, who clearly finds Yuki attractive, and Yuki, we've seen signs already with the body language that she reciprocates, right? But this interaction gets very problematic because she treats him as if he is a sexist pig when he's not. She's constantly trying to assert her femme dominance, and Sokka is he can come across comedically, which you want, but because there's supposed to be an edge of humor when they're not in the middle of battle. There's supposed to be an edge of humor by the tone of the show. I don't think the showrunners who took over after they kicked the originals off got that. Okay, so the most problematic thing here is the relationship between Sokka and Yuki. That's the most problematic thing. So we go here in the fire. Now, this is a little stupid. I don't remember if it was anything like this in the animation, but this is Prince Zuko, the Crown Prince. Okay, every military commander and their immediate subordinates would know who Prince Zuko is. But if you don't, you would know who Uncle Iroh is. He's literally one of the most powerful firebenders in the kingdom, a renowned general and commander. You see Uncle Iroh walk in, even if you think that's just some kid who's his age, you're going to stand at attention and say, yes, sir, yes, sir. Okay? So this is bad writing on their part for that guy not to recognize Uncle Iroh, if nothing else. Okay? And so we get a little bit of the intrigue, and, Uncle Iroh gets played by this guy, and you would think... So they make Uncle Iroh look stupid when he's supposed to be pretty cunning and wise. So what happened at the end of this... They seemingly make an alliance with this guy to that he's signing on to Prince Zuko's ticket, as it were. But instead, he goes behind their back and emails the Fire Lord about Zuko finding the Avatar. Okay, which we see at the end. He emails. He dove mail. He sent it with a dove. I know an email, right? So Uncle Iroh should have had a comment. So they should have seen Uncle Iroh says to Zuko, when he sees the bird going up, and he says, "Oh, I'm sure by now he sent word to your father." Has Zuko? So why do you want that? Because your father will not himself come out to here, or something like this line. Your father himself will not come out to this at this point. However, he will send resources which you and I, being the highest, being the crown prince and Uncle and General Iroh, will command to our own benefit. That would have been something Uncle Iroh should have said. But instead, it looks like he gets played. Bad writing. They're making fake intrigue when the real Uncle Iroh would have known what this jerk is going to do as soon as he talks to him. He would have known everything about this guy before he walked into that room. Now this is stupid. Why is Sokka body shamed? He's in good shape. He lives. She's like gawking at him. He's like covering his body up. I mean, this is femme-splaining. They're basically masculinizing Yuki and feminizing Sokka, and it's disrespectful to the character of Sokka, and to the character of Yuki. Not even as in the original show, as depicted here. They're not acting like young adults, a male and a female. But then again, the writers in it probably have been taught that men and women are the same and act the same, which we know they don't. So this is wokeism combined with bad writing for the whole interaction with these two. So again, this little eating scene, cool with that. And Katara and Sokka interacting when they're by themselves, and Sokka is getting the right relationship with Momo, all pretty cool. And this is nice. Aang is still a kid, so he's gonna show off all the Avatar stuff and go play with the kids. Again, this scene. A lot of times when you have bad writers, they have a lot of like great little scenes but can't put it together. Is another sign of it. I love this actress. She played the character in Karate Kid 2, Daniel's love interest. She's aged so much, but I think they made her look older than she really is. She does good in this. Again, no problem with the acting. You know, again, showing the Fire Lord politics, but again, it's problematic writing. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Ahsoka is a competent warrior. Out of nowhere. You know, he has a lethal weapon, he can hunt and whatever. Um, that's an out of the animation thing she does all the time. But they're making him awkward. And again, most I'm just kind of glancing through here. That this romance makes no sense in relation to how she is treating him. None. So Aang learns practically enters interstate, meets Avatar Kyoshi, when it should be Avatar Roku who is his internal guide. Out of nowhere, they're doing like love-tastic martial arts training. I think this is inappropriate for a child's show. To show like there's a sexual element to this, and Avatar should be aimed at kids. Okay, I'm not opposed to this if this were like a teenager show, because people get grope and whatever. I think this show should be targeting a general audience, and it should refrain from too much physical contact that's clearly of a more adult nature. Now, I think one of the things they're trying to do with Yuki is that when she's out of the face paint, she's more feminine when she's masculine. I think they're gonna do that with the masculine feminine energy bit, which is like an Eastern concept. I don't think it works because of how they're acting prior to this. So now he's stepping up. He's the man, and because she's out of the makeup, you know. Again, we get a battle. We're gonna get a battle here. Show how non-benders can fight benders. And this is where she's like ruthless. You must be merciless, a merciless warrior, blah blah blah. Which there's a point when Avatar has to be that, but not. This sort of fighting is horribly. While the bending and stuff, why did he pause? It's like he's saying, "Okay, I gotta wait until they animate him in front of me." Let's watch this sequence again, okay? So we got the villagers throwing, Momo throwing rocks, fine, that's cool. We have this bit is fine. She's putting the weapons in place. She's defending herself. That's cool. So now we get them working together. Okay, it's right there, a little team wire work fighting. Good there, right? Then right here, she kills the guy, perfectly fine. We get the working together again. Teamwork is the dream work. I know I'm gonna get dinged, right? So what he does? Why didn't he drew right away? He should have shot them right away. Instead he waits. That's bad writing. What that is bad writing generating bad combat choreography. Okay, so it's not so much that that all the combat is bad or whatever. It's that they would have wrote fire warrior prepares a fireball and sees, and then must delay implementation of fireball until Sokka gets into offensive position. So that's going to be in the special effects notes. And you a smart director would say, wait a minute, this isn't going to work visually. So what we're going to do is we're going to time the visuals so like you're shooting a fireball as Sokka is trying to get in between, and then it'll look okay. Instead, they actually showed him delaying as if giving him time to protect her. So it's not just she's going out. She's showing how to use the avatar. Now this part is legit. If the avatar goes off on people, regular benders have no chance. That's a given. And again, no real problem. They can fly away. She's going to be a returning character, by the way. She was in the fan. We get the Momo comedy, but just nothing wrong there. Now, and I talked about this before, so I'm not going to belabor the point. So, okay, so this episode's like a 2 out of 10, maybe a 3 because some of the fight scenes, individual aspects were okay. I'm cool with everything Katara did this episode. I'm cool with everything Aang himself did. I'm not cool with anything that Avatar Kyoshi did with her sort of mansplaining speech, hard, be a hard woman for the hard times. You know, I'm not cool with them making Uncle Iroh look like a moron. Okay, and I'm not talking about in comparison to the character how it was. I'm saying in the context of this show alone, Uncle Iroh looks like a moron now. Sokka looks like a simp. You know, Kyoshi makes the avatars look like genocidal maniacs. You know, so that's the case there. I will do it. I'm gonna obviously watch the last 6 episodes. I don't know if I can stomach this. You know, I'll do another review episode 3. I'm just gonna see. I'm gonna play it by feels. You know, if I watch an episode and say, hey, I can do a review on this, I'll do it. If not, then there'll be like a final season end review when I just talk about my thoughts on it, right? So, but this episode, first episode was kind of meh with some good and bad moments. This episode, while it had some good moments, they were the same good moments from the first episode. The visual depictions of bending, the special effects, the costume, the sound, the landscape, you know, some of the efforts by the actors, but the same subpar writing was there, and now we see a little more woke politicking at play. Anyway, my name is Matt. This has been Unbearable 73. Have a nice weekend. Hope you enjoyed. If not, if you enjoyed it, give me a like. If you didn't, dislike. I'm perfectly fine with either way. If you're watching me on YouTube or Rumble, share the content out if you liked it. Help my channel grow. Thank you very much. Peace, and I am out of here.